Hello, everybody. I have got Tim with me today, and we'll get into an introduction here in a second. But we are going to be talking a little bit more specifically about intelligent automation and how Hyland Software is using that technology to drive their solution forward. So before we dive into my questions for you, Tim, can you do that introduction that I promised?
Absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me on your show. This has been great to watch, been very educational. So I've enjoyed being a consumer of these, and so it's an honor to be taking part in one also. So my name is Tim Tallaksen. I'm with Hyland Software. I've been an employee here for quite a long time, about 18 years. So I've seen not only this company, but this industry go through an awful lot of changes. It's been an interesting time for sure. And my role at Hyland, I've actually had a few different roles throughout the organization over time, and I've moved a little between sales and the development team, which is not a very common trip for a lot of people, but it's given me an opportunity to work with a lot of customers, a lot of partners, a lot of our solutions, a lot of new technology, and a lot of our internal departments. So I've been blessed with having a view of the organization and the industry and our customers from a lot of different angles. So it's been very helpful to be along that journey and to be with Hyland as we've grown as a company.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Yeah, we go way back to for any Naviant customers, you've probably seen Tim at a couple of our summits over the years. And
I go back with Naviant to the MTM days. Just a little history here. Predating my time at Hyland, I worked for Minolta, and we had a product that was called MIMS. And back before Naviant was called Naviant, they were more than micrographics, MTM, and I supported those guys back in the mid-90s.
So predating me then.
by a few years probably, yeah. But back then we were, doing the same thing we're doing today. We were automating business processes. The technology was a very different world back then, but the goal was the same. How do we make people more efficient? How do we drive, costs out of the process? How do we ensure customer satisfaction? How do we follow regulatory practices? We were doing the same things. We just had a different toolbox to do it back then.
Well, you set me up perfectly for my first question then. So I mentioned that we're going to be talking about this idea of intelligent automation, and this is certainly kind of the newest territory that this industry is starting to move towards. And I want to start off our conversation for anyone that isn't super familiar with that term. Let's start at ground zero. What does intelligent automation mean to you, Tim, and the folks at Hyland?
It's a great question. And, it's one of those questions where everybody can have their own definition, but the reality is it's pretty simple, right? In the days long ago, we were talking about microfilm and things like that, where we're automating the process. But, today we're talking about those kinds of technologies that aid in making processes more efficient. So the intelligent part is machine learning, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, using those buzzwords to support making better decisions, automating the routine, because much of the decisioning process that goes on is rules-based, and so when we talk about intelligent automation, it's not a big mystery. It's not, it's not anything that is, rocket science or anything. We're just using more modern technology to drive even further efficiency into the business process.
Great, thank you. So one of the really exciting portions of Hyland's intelligent automation practice is the newly acquired Hyland RPA Platform. And so I want to talk a little bit about that Hyland RPA Platform, but also kind of where you are most excited to start seeing customers bring that tool into their solutions.
Yeah. So when you and I talked the other day, we talked a lot about acronyms, right? RPA, robotic process automation. There's no real robots involved. I have a thing for robots, and you may see it in the background here, but there's no real robots involved. But it's it's robotic software, right? That is helping automate tasks really in the process. So for those that maybe are new to that acronym and that technology, we're using software that emulates the keystrokes and mouse clicks of a human. And it really can be boiled down to that. And so that doesn't sound super cool or high tech, but when you try and think about scaling that up and really following rules-based processes and all the different systems that people have to have access to, you can automate a huge amount of work that you're asking people to do, which is very routine, very mundane, very error-prone at times too. And you can configure. You don't really you don't train the robot. You configure the robot to follow some rules, and it does the tasks that that person would do every single time in order without deviation. It does what you tell it to do. It doesn't take weekends off. It doesn't call in sick. It doesn't have good days and bad days. It follows the process. So you ensure stability, you ensure compliance, you ensure that you're following the right standard operating procedures, and you are allowing the humans now to do more value-added tasks. The goal isn't to straight out replace people. That's not the goal. The goal is to let your people do more knowledge work, interact with your customers, think about better ways to solve problems, spend more time doing research on issues that are important, focus on those things that humans are good at, which is the fuzzy logic kind of things where you've got to interpret a lot of things for the first time. So this RPA technology, new addition to the Hyland portfolio, but it's one of those technologies that I think touches and can touch everywhere from the capture process way up front, where we use already using intelligent technologies like machine learning and artificial intelligence, but it can aid in the interaction with other systems and do some of the routine steps that we'd ask a person to do in that process. It can help in the workflow process. When people think of automation, they rightfully should think of workflow processing, but we will route documents to a person to evaluate that document, supporting documents, missing documents, additional information that lives outside in the external world from say an on-base system. We can have a robot or an RPA process evaluate and automate those tasks. And then really an area that people tend to think about RPA, and I think should, is that interaction with other external systems, reaching out to a website that's outside of your walls, connecting to a legacy system where there's no API available to connect to it. We can then leverage RPA to be that gateway to replicate those keystrokes and mouse clicks that a person would do to access those systems and do it in an automated way. So I think up and down the spectrum of automation, from capture to compliance and interaction with other systems, there's opportunity to further automate those processes that folks like Naviant and Hyland and our customer base have been deploying for decades. I'm super excited about adding RPA technology to our customers' toolbox so they can use it in ways that we really haven't even thought of just yet.
And I think that the idea that you mentioned there of adding it to the toolbox, I think a lot of our customers, maybe who are more sophisticated in their process automation, have maybe been using robotics in the past, but they're looking at bringing in another tool and working on finding those ways to meld the platforms a little bit more. And so it's exciting for us to have the ability to have that encased in that same platform and have another way to use the tool rather than having to go out and search for another relationship, another vendor, another software platform, and being able to bring those capabilities forward to somebody is a really exciting way to continue to help them on that journey and strengthening that investment that they've already made.
You're right. The technology is one thing. It's great technology, but the fact that you can work with a vendor you already work with, you can work with a vendor that already knows your solutions and challenges that you face. You can have a single licensing model and approach to deploying and growing those solutions. Those are soft benefits that are advantages for our customers also.
Great. So another piece that falls under your umbrella of that intelligent automation is the new Hyland Experience Capture platform. And I want to take time to talk a little bit about that before we end our time together today. So can you share what that acronym of HXC really means and tell us a little bit about kind of the future of that trajectory as well?
Yeah, I'll throw a couple of acronyms at you here. Probably a lot. So we do say, the cool kids say HXC, Hyland Experience Capture, okay? And there's a point to all of that because what we're calling Hyland Experience is a thing, and I'm going to explain what that is. And then the capture component is sort of built on top of that. What we're seeing come out of our R&D teams right now, this Hyland Experience Capture product, is the first visible portion of a huge amount of work that has transpired over the last several years. I think it is the literal tip of the iceberg of what's been happening inside of Hyland Software. And what that is a true born in the cloud, multi-tenant, modern technology platform, which will be our platform of the future, right? So we've done a lot of acquisitions. We've consolidated a lot of products. We've built integrations. We have customers that have a variety of these technologies. And it's our duty to continue to keep those products and technologies alive, but to make it easier for our customers to own and deploy those solutions. So as everybody's moving towards the cloud, and we are too, we are rebuilding some of that technology in a modern platform. And that platform, it's called Hyland Experience Platform, HXP. You might hear that thrown out there. And that is really the infrastructure that HXC is built on top of, right? A lot of acronyms there. But Hyland Experience Capture is the first of many products and technologies to be released on that new next generation platform. And the thing that we're very excited about this is it's a true web-based capture platform, but it also includes a lot of intelligence right out of the bat, right off the, in the beginning, meaning that it's got artificial intelligence with machine learning built in, what we're calling the automated learning engine, ALE, as part of it. So customers can capture documents from any location with a web browser, funnel them into a centralized server, use classification technologies to identify that document type, use extraction technologies to leverage things like OCR and pull out keyword and index information, and do it in a way that leverages artificial intelligence and machine learning. You train the software on some batches of documents. It learns from how you index them. And then as you process more documents into it, it gets better and better. It teaches itself how to do this. So even if you see slight variations in those documents, keyword and data moving around, form types changing ever so slightly, the software can account for that and improve its own functionality over time. So that sort of technology being built into that platform, we're going to see it make its way into other things, workflow integrations, things like that going forward. So there's automated learning engine, these kinds of algorithms built into this cloud-first platform is really the direction that Hyland's moving in. And it's pretty exciting to see the first iterations of that come to fruition.
Yeah, and this is something we've been talking about for a couple of years. So to your point, it is very exciting to start seeing that vision and that idea of moving to that cloud-first platform, and with specifically something like capture, which there's traditionally been some challenges to having that in a cloud-first environment. So seeing that come to real life is pretty exciting.
What a lot of what has happened is older technology, premise-based technology, has been just put in the cloud, and that's not where it was designed to be run from a an efficiency perspective. And this is a complete overhaul and redesign of that technology in a cloud-first approach, and that really sets it apart. It makes it different. And the fact that customers don't have to think about infrastructure, they don't have to think about bandwidth, they don't have to think about any of those things. It gives them a very cost-effective, predictable way to ramp up their capture processes. And I'm working from home, you're working from home, many people are. We're going to see more and more capture of content happen in a broad, wide variety of locations. And this allows our customers to be infinitely flexible to handle that as we work in the new norm going forward.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Tim, and talking through this and sharing this information with our shared customers. There's some other really cool tools that are leveraging these intelligent automation capabilities that I've talked with some other folks from Hyland about. So Brainware, we've got a video that focuses on that, and we'll be sure to link you to that, as well as Content Composer. But any of these tools that you've got more questions about, please feel free to reach out to Tim and connect with him, or funnel questions through me, and we'll make sure to get you guys connected with the right people.
Thank you so much.